This is the JC-LGL 100 watt UFO LED high bay light. Let's take it out of the box. In the box you get the instruction manual. Here is the light itself, of course. They give you a safety cable for it, complete with a carabiner at one end to help you just clip it onto something, whatever that may be. And there is also a hanging hook that is included. It's got a really nice feature on this style of hook. Obviously, it screws in to the back of it, and I'll show you that. But, you know, you could tighten it up as much as you want, but an earthquake might loosen it and that. So that's what the safety cable is for. But to keep it on the hook that you're putting it on, there's this bolt in there. You just undo that, hook it, which will go this way, and there you go. All set. So that's kind of a nice thing right there. Let me tell you a bit about the light first, and then I'll show you how to install the hook on it and some other really nice features of it as well. So this is the 100 watt version of it, and it will replace a 450 watt metal halide type light. This is 15,000 lumens, 5000K color temperature. This will run on 100 to 277 volts AC. It does include a 6-foot cord complete with a grounded US plug on it. What's this little thing here for? Dimming. You can't dim it out of the box. You need a separate dimmer that you have to buy compatible with UFO high bay type lights like that. When you buy that, it'll have the instructions as far as how it's hooked up to that. It's 2 wires. It's not really a big deal, but you need a special dimmer for that. It's not your Orange Home Improvement Store special that you get for $15.99. It's a special one that you have to get for the high bay lights like that. 120 degree beam angle, so that means 60 degrees kind of out that way and 60 out that way. Pretty widespread. Better than those that only do 90, because then you'd only have 45 each way and kind of narrow beam that way. On this particular one, it is IP65 waterproof. It has an aluminum housing on it, and let me show you that. See right here, this is all aluminum back here, okay? This also has a 5-year warranty on it, so that's pretty neat right there. Now I'm going to show you how to install the hook on it, okay? And then I'm going to show you one other feature I didn't tell you about just yet. Now I'm going to show you how to install the hook. Before you install it, it screws in right over here, but note, there's a set screw on here. It's a regular Phillips. So make sure it's not sticking into the hole there, because if it does, then the hook isn't going to go in there. And then you can simply unscrew it using the Phillips like that. Otherwise, you just take the hook and screw it on in. Nice and tight like that. And then you can take the set screw right over here and tighten that down like that. So that'll make a nice tight connection just like that. Now I'm going to show you another really nifty feature that I didn't tell you about just yet. Remember how I said this is a 100 watt? Sometimes that might be too bright. And I mentioned that dimming, and it has that connection. But it also has another little feature built in right here. See that? You need to remove that. Now, you can use really anything. It's just a plastic cover. I'm just going to use a flat blade screwdriver to get that out. When you do this, by the way, just take note, there is a rubber gasket on that right here. So don't lose that, because otherwise it's not going to be waterproof anymore. And what do you find in there? There's a switch. Three positions. And that's because you can adjust the brightness low, medium, and high just like that right in there. Now it's always going to stay on that, and obviously when this is mounted 35 feet in the air, you're not changing it. So it's something that you want to set during the installation itself, so that way you don't have to go up on a high-low or a big ladder or anything like that. I'm going to show you all the different brightness levels, so I'm going to leave that out. With that, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just shine the light over that way, because that'll give you a better idea of what it's going to look like at the different brightness settings, and then we'll hang it up and you can see what it can do. Alright, this is as dark as it gets in here during the day, but it's still plenty dark enough. So we're all set right here. I have the light set to its lowest brightness setting, and we're going to go ahead and turn it on. Whoa! That's at the lowest setting right there. We can now kick that to medium. Now, what is going to happen, let me just mention here, is it's going to go bright and then dim. What you're seeing is the camera's exposure going down like that to adjust for it. So there's medium. And there's high. Wow! Back to low, medium, high. It really gets cooking. And something else I just want to mention here, you can feel the heat come out of this thing. So yeah, it's definitely putting out some good light. Let's go ahead and hang it up and see what it does. So I got this big overhead fluorescent light here that was out of somebody's kitchen years ago. But there's a pipe there I was able to just hang the light on. It's hanging right there. Just a little crooked because of the cord, but that's on me. We're going to go ahead and plug that in and see what it's going to do for this area. Now bear in mind that when I do this here, I'm going to shut the regular room lights out. There's other lighting further down the line and around the perimeter and that. So we're going to be concentrating on this one area right over here mainly. So we'll go right over here, and I'm going to shut the lights, and then we'll plug this in. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. I think that works absolutely pretty well. Very, very nice and bright. And check this out. If I put the lights in the room on, it doesn't add much, just at the far end over there. So, yeah, this is really taking over the lighting here, which is really, really kind of nice. I don't have a very high ceiling here. This is only about 7.5 feet or so. So it's not entirely that high up, but if it were mounted properly at like 30, 35 feet, something like that, you would get a much bigger spread of light. So that would be even better. The one thing I do want to mention, this is not a deal breaker, but it is something just to be aware of. Some people care about this stuff, like myself, but when you connect power to this, if you have a wall switch or something like that, it takes a good second or two before it goes on. I'm going to plug it back in here, and I'm going to say on as soon as I do it, and you'll see how long it takes for the light to actually turn on. On. So there is a bit of a delay. On. It's not too bad, but it's not instant. Again, not a deal breaker at all, but just keep that in mind that it does take just a moment after you flip that switch for it to light up. So I'll leave you with a close-up of all of the LEDs that are in there. You can't look at this in real life. It's way, way too bright. But it certainly puts out a tremendous amount of light. I love the fact that you can adjust the brightness right on it without needing an external dimmer. Of course, if you want that, you can add that and have full range dimming. As such, IP65 waterproof, so it's great. Works on any voltage from 100 to 277. And it's got a 5-year warranty. Once again, this was the JC-LGL 100-watt UFO high bay LED light.